Okay. All right, ladies and gentlemen, this is Brock Beard from lastcar.info coming at you for tonight's live stream after the chase cutoff race or playoff cutoff race at Daytona. And William Byron, unofficially your winner tonight in Daytona. We'll wait for a few more people to come in here as we get things started. Hopefully, we don't have the internet issues that we had last week, but I hope you enjoyed the action from Friday and Saturday. We're doing this a little differently. I know there's a truck race tomorrow, but I anticipate certainly if they got this race in tonight, that this would be kind of where the larger storylines would be for the weekend. My goodness, yeah, plenty to certainly say in this moment. First of all, hope you all are staying safe out there and everything. Doing okay over here in California, keeping an eye on things going on and all that. But a pleasant distraction, certainly, with all of this. I have to say, quite honestly, I've watched a lot of Daytona races these last few years, and this is probably the most entertaining one I have seen at Daytona since probably the 2001 Aero package. And I'm not saying like with Earnhardt's crash or anything, but the 2001 Super Speedway package was fantastic at Daytona and Talladega with a roof rack and a lot of good racing and not as much wrecking out there. Obviously, we saw that towards the end of this race with a couple of very big accidents at those points. But short of that, I mean, it's really rare that we get to a point where we have a lot of great super speedway racing and people battling against each other. Yes, it's at the backdrop with the playoffs and the championship. Not a big fan of the playoff system, of course. But I think as a cutoff race, having this super speedway race there is just kind of a complete toss-up, making it easier to understand when somebody's able to kind of maneuver through the field. And who would have thought that in the first time they do it with this, Byron does the Jeremy Mayfield maneuver as he did in 2004 when Richmond was the first cutoff race for it, and pulled the victory off unofficially. Waiting for the results from technical inspection will certainly be significant in this one. As they check over the 24 car and everything going on from there. But yeah, definitely got to say, like the end of the race there, it's unfortunate that things kind of bubbled over at the end of it. But I think again, it was a good battle for most of it. A lot of comers and goers got to see a lot of these drivers and what they're actually capable of, and which drivers are actually able to stay up in the top 10. We got to see a little maneuvering by Ricky Stenhouse Jr. during the race, cutting in and out of the inside line to the outside line, holding off Logano, who basically seemed to have one of the best cars in the field, if not the best. But unfortunately getting collected in an accident, much like what he did back at the Daytona 500 earlier in February. You had the issues with a lot of other teams and drivers that are up there that maybe we don't see that often, and which ones are actually able to stay up there for a while. Daniel Suarez got a nice moment for the Gaunt Brothers team, able to stay out front during that pit sequence when they were running single file. Apparently the draft was running a bit slower at that point, but still, nonetheless, good to see him have a good run after he crashed out of his duel in back in February and wasn't given a chance to start the 500 in the number 96 car. So a good recovery from him. Michael McDowell was good for most of this race. Seemed like he had a good run going in the 34 car. Wasn't able to pit with the other Fords. Looked like he was going to lose a lot of positions and time with the rest of the field. And then was able to come back out there and recover to be near the top 10, unfortunately, and then getting then collected in the accident triggered by Tyler Reddick and Kyle Busch there towards the end. But still, absolutely outstanding battle there. And certainly after last year, where the race was rain shortened, I was extremely surprised that in running this race in August during hurricane season, and of course, thoughts and prayers certainly go out to those who are dealing with the hurricanes over in the Gulf Coast. Very surprised that Florida wasn't really affected by any of those during this particular weekend. Really surprising there. And so we didn't have really rain be a factor in the Xfinity or the Cup race, and put on a fantastic show for both of them. So good to see not any cautions in that sense and everything from that standpoint, but absolutely entertaining there on that. So I hope you guys enjoyed that one as well. Brennan Gaughan and Corey LaJoie looked like they had a good move down the backstretch. I've seen people mention, of course, Brennan Gaughan's 8th place finish. Great run for him in his next to last Cup Series start after starting in the last spot at the beginning of this race. Coming up there towards the end of the event, he and LaJoie seemed to have a good run on the inside. Unfortunately, LaJoie wrecked on the last lap on the backstretch. Wasn't able to repeat his great run from the spring race. Unfortunately, of course, that one was the wreck with Ryan Newman, but a good finish regardless on that before the case. Matt DiBenedetto able to pull through in the 12th place spot, get the last transfer spot into the playoffs along with Byron. And so he transfers in. But you got a heartbreak definitely for Jimmie Johnson. I mean, he's had such a difficult year this year. Having the wreck there with Matt Kenseth and the others off of turn 2, falling just short. A great gutsy performance by the team to get him back out there. And much like Davey Allison in Atlanta in 1992 or Dale Earnhardt at Daytona in 1997, doing his very best to actually get as many points as he can and just never say die out there and do the very best they can. It's unfortunate that Jimmie Johnson is not going to be in the championship hunt this year, but perhaps in these last 10 races, this will be almost like a mini fan appreciation tour for him, and maybe that'll ramp up more of the celebrations and get focused more on that aspect of it rather than the championship side of it. Certainly going to be emotional when they get to Phoenix, regardless, for his final Cup start, at least as a full-time competitor. We'll see what things look like in 2021 and beyond. Christopher Bell had a great run in this race as well. He was running in the top 5 during a lot of this. Unfortunately, got collected in one of those many accidents on the last lap and seemed to, drop out of the lead pack. But decent performance there for him. And, it looked like something for the 95 team to actually recover, the Levine family team. But maybe things will turn around for them down the home stretch, perhaps at Talladega, where the super speedways tend to make things a little interesting for a lot of these small teams. All right. Bubba Wallace, a great run for him. Looked like he was going to go for the lead. In fact, was going for the lead. Entering turn 1, ended up getting put in the wall thanks to Denny Hamlin making a bit of contact with Logano while they were racing in the middle and low lanes there. Just the slightest little bit of contact could result in a really big accident there. In spite of the damage that Wallace had, a great job again by the 43 team to get him back out there and finish in the 5th position, right ahead of his friend Ryan Blaney in the 6th spot. Chris Buescher looked like he had a great run going in Ricky Stenhouse's car. Saw him flirting with the lead there inside the final 20 laps. Ends up in the 9th spot there, one of his best runs of the 17. Brad Keselowski's plan to stay in the back of the field didn't quite pay off, although he did get a 10th place finish, which is much better than when he was running most of the day, pulling the Dale Jarrett strategy of the early 2000s of deliberately dropping at the back of the pack. And indeed, there were accidents towards the end of the race and able to inherit those positions. But very impressed by Brendan Gaughan. Great recovery from his last place run at the Daytona Infield Road Course. Certainly got to talk about the problems there for Kyle Busch. He goes winless in the regular season after getting collected in that accident there with Tyler Reddick. Reddick, a very aggressive move, certainly, and kudos to him for owning up on it. He was trying the slide job there and unfortunately just put himself on the wall, and Kyle Busch getting collected in that, and Eric Jones as well. Jones, just a heartbreaker for him too. Looked like he had at least as good of a car as his Gibbs teammates, if not a better one. Was able to lead for portions of that race. Unfortunately, doesn't have anything to show for it. And much like Jimmie Johnson is going to have a very different strategy in these final 10 races, trying to do the best he can with whatever runs that he can on that. John Hunter Nemechek just outside the top 10, continuing the promising run that he had at Talladega before he got collected in Ryan Blaney's bit of a fracas across the line there. Looking at the running here, Michael McDowell still got 14th in spite of that damage. That's very surprising. Showing 8.4 seconds back of the lead. Brennan Poole in the 15th spot. He was flirting with the top 10 in the early stages. Great to see a great run out of him. The Premium Motorsports, now Rick Ware absorbed team, actually getting some great runs out there. Mr. Antian, thank you so much for the super chat on here. These super speedway races are exciting. Absolutely got to agree. Great effort for the teams there. I think that was definitely exciting to see there for the race there. And again, we don't see all these races necessarily come out the best. I think Sugar Plate Racing tends to have this reputation, great build up to it. You see a lot of small teams get great performances. But again, in this one, I'd have to say, especially those first 130, 120 laps, absolutely outstanding. I would watch those again in a heartbeat. Probably some of the best racing we've seen at Daytona, at least since the 2015 500 towards the end. And with that one ending under caution with Logano winning it, great runs for them. I see the other super chat in here. Thank you again, Beast of Metal. Oh my goodness. Okay. Can't wait for all the Johnson fans blaming one or both of the virus and the officials for him missing the playoffs. His age and the accompanying decline of human eyesight is as much of a factor. It's an unfortunate situation for Johnson. Again, thank you for the super chat, first of all, of course. You know, Johnson with that, a lot of different situations there, you know, for him. I know it's been a difficult season for him as much as it was Kyle Busch. I was saying William Byron, he had 24 people in the chat, so perfect for that. We now have 25. Fantastic. But, you know, Jimmy Johnson just had a difficult year. I'm kind of persuaded by that video that talked about Johnson potentially being hurt at Pocono back in 2017 as his performance seemed to drop off from there. His most recent win at Dover was right before that, and definitely a different sea change in his performance from then. You know, hopefully something can still kind of come together at the end, but that's going to be very difficult. It seems like certainly in these playoff races, especially with this elimination format, the teams that are in the playoffs are really seeking to step it up and are much more of a factor for the win. Not that it's impossible. Joe Nemechek's clip that you saw from the very first playoffs in 2004, Joe Nemechek was able to sweep the weekend in both the Busch Series and the Cup Series as a complete outsider in the points and take what was ultimately his last Cup Series victory. So a different deal on that. But thank you again for the super chat on that as well, Mr. Anti-Ant and Beast of Metal 1989 for sure. Gotta say, yeah, great run there. You know, and again, the attrition was so low in this one. We haven't even talked about J.J. Yaley and the engine failure that he had at the very beginning of the race. That made we got the article pretty much started already. It's not gonna take too long to finish that because I was able to kind of work on that during some of the red flags here. But Yaley only made 3 laps, which is unfortunate. He had kind of a nice throwback, seemed kind of almost like a Kirk Shelmerdine kind of paint scheme on that. Red, white, and blue paint scheme on that. Ends up dropping back out, and after just 3 laps of engine failure, pulled behind the wall in the early laps. Surprisingly, didn't throw a caution. It came so close to the competition yellow, I suppose. But pulling behind the wall, the number 27 had something wrong internally, apparently an issue with the drivetrain, according to Yaley's Twitter. So he had a problem with that, and unfortunately, it was a short afternoon for him. Yaley has 18 last place finishes in the Cup Series. But the advantage is, and I was working on this in the article, I want to kind of talk more about, you know, the fact that he's had much more impressive finishes lately, getting the Rick Ware team inside the top 30. Wow, Mr. Antian, thank you again for your other super chat on here. Thoughts on NASCAR not throwing the caution at the end? We had like 3 or 4 crashes, inconsistent, letting him run to the line and throwing the caution. You know, this is a very good question on that, and I think this is certainly a controversial issue. Certainly what they were talking about. It seems like, and the announcers do a terrible job of this, where they make it sound like they're just making up the rules as they go along and say, well, you know, NASCAR said there wasn't anybody in danger, so they kept going. It's like, well, how do you know that? I guess that came over in the drivers' meeting or whatever. But, you know, I think that I've been an advocate of last lap, anything goes. I think at that point, you know, racing is entirely about the last lap and about racing to the line. And I think the ability to fight your way to the finish line regardless is so ingrained in these drivers' heads that it becomes more dangerous to slow the action down and force them to do anything different. One of the first races that forced the races to freeze at Talladega, I think it was actually back in 2006, so it was a couple of years after. Tony Stewart was slowing down at the end of a race there, got turned by David Gilliland, wrecked his car. Certainly wouldn't have happened if you know, Gilliland thought you know, it had slowed down and Stewart had sped up or something like that. But it's certainly an avoidable incident that doesn't get talked about too much with these rules. I think in any other caution, yeah, throw the caution, make sure everybody's safe and all that. There's no reason to not slow the action and take advantage of whatever the issue is. But I think on the last lap, especially these super speedways, if you want to get the rescue equipment out there as quickly as possible for a particular accident, they're driving race cars. Let them get to the finish line, and then, yeah, throw the caution immediately after the leader gets there. I think that would be the best of both worlds in that standpoint. And the drivers would also know that. And you bring this very good point up, Mr. Anti, and it is the inconsistency that's the issue. The problem is when NASCAR makes a judgment call and says, oh, well, we don't think they're in danger, we don't think it's a serious accident and whatever and all that. I think in the fog of war of a last place or last lap finish, they're not really looking at those accidents anyway. And it's really hard to judge in that instant if it is something really serious. So I would say, yeah, just have the drivers know that when the white flag comes out, they're like, man, if I get in an accident, I know I'm going to be on my own at least for these last little moments in here. And then again, racing is dangerous, and that danger should be minimized as much as possible. But I think that there are dangers to having everybody slow down at the most tense moment in a competition. You don't see this in any other sport, and that's really where it's difficult there. It's very different from, again, an incident that happens well short of the finish, but a last lap, anything goes. A white flag is just the checkered flag ends the race. And I think that would eliminate a lot of this. You could even have that rule in there and not even have the overtime rules in that standpoint if you knew that that was in there. I think the reason that we have the overtime rules in a lot of cases is that it takes too long to clean up these wrecks and they have to push things into overtime. So that's a different standpoint from there, but I think that's really kind of the issue with that. But good question there, Mr. Andy. Yeah. Let's see, but yeah, I mean it's a different situation and all these other ones. I know that this came up certainly during the incident with the accident earlier, and if that would have happened or not because of because the caution wasn't thrown when Chase Elliott wrecked. You know what? Again, it's a toss-up. It can happen either way, but at that point in that one, it's happening right coming to the line. Ryan Newman wouldn't have even been able to go for the lead if the caution had come out even earlier than that. So you could look at that either way. But I do think that, I think it's the safety of the cars and everything that is really more central to that issue rather than the ability to finish the race under green. I think that that's the important thing to keep an eye on. Now, of course, if the drivers crashed on the starting line, that's a whole different issue. But the officials are going to know that immediately, so that's kind of the difference. Goodness, Mr. Andy, I thank you again on the super chat again here. How do you feel on NBC's commentators? Feel like too much color commentary? Also, I think they could find a better lap-by-lap commentator. LOL. I could not agree more. The networks in general, and I was actually working on, people were asking me about their video I'm working on this. It's difficult for me to construct a decent argument on this that hits all the points, which is why I've done the terrible broadcast series on this channel. I felt that it clears up what the issues are with broadcasting when you just show an example of it. It's very hard to put into words. But I think the big issue with the NBC booth in particular is that the commentators are always interviewing each other, which I don't get the point of that, because you have an entire week. You can do NASCAR Race Hub. You can do all these other shows. They can talk at each other, do water cooler talk and all that. When you are at the track and you are reporting on the race, you need to be reporting on what is happening on the track. And this is a big reason that I don't have an issue with the pit road reporters, because guys like Adam Cavana and Parker Kligerman and all those guys, they're actually reporting on stuff that's happening. They're bringing to light things that are happening on pit road, things that are happening in the garage area. Jamie Little, all those other ones there, they do a great job. They're the aspect of the broadcast that I have the least problem with. But in the booth, and especially in the NBC booth, Fox 1 is responsible for this too, but it's less bad this year when they just had two people in the booth. The fact that they're just prattling on and just talking to each other and not describing what's happening, that's kind of irritating. And when they do describe what's happening, they describe it as vague as possible. I think part of that is a culture change, where maybe some of them don't have experience in radio, where they have to make the images really clear, which is why when they bring on like Bagman and those other guys from the radio to do the Watkins Glen broadcast in the past, the broadcast they do from there is a lot better because they're able to kind of draw that image in your mind. I think something about that has been lost with a lot of these broadcasts. And the current situation where they're doing remote telecasts, it may seem like, oh, well, it's unfair to say that because they're having to do it remotely. All they're doing is looking at the screen. Well, come on, they still are able to relay with people at the track. You don't have somebody else listening to the scanner and feeding them notes. You don't have somebody else that's able to, text them other information or something like that. Somebody that can like coordinate for them. I mean, they have massive studios. They keep talking about these studios all the time. If they're able to do that, I think that would be, a big issue. I think it's definitely it's a crowded area. I think they have too many broadcasters in there for NBC. I think, and then doing the Rutledge Woods thing and all this other stuff, it's like, they don't need all that. They could just cut that in half at least, and then just do the very basics. Just do the basics really well and describe what's happening in this. If people misspeak or something like that, that happens. But at least be in the effort of actually describing what's happening. I don't, and making it interesting. And again, it's another culture issue where even Dale Jr. said this. And I love what Dale Jr. does in a lot of things in the sport, where he says that he can't describe what isn't seen on the screen. Now, that may be true now, but when they're at the track, they don't have that excuse. And I think this is where it brings me into the Fox side of it. It would have been extremely excusable if when they came back at Darlington, that the broadcast wasn't nearly as good as it was when they were able to have everybody at the track, when fans were in the stands, all, from Daytona through Phoenix. The fact that the broadcast was about the same tells you how much wasted effort there is and how much it's just not being done. And that's the big issue there. If the fact that it was basically the same shows that they were working extremely hard in this sense to kind of keep it at that level. But that means when they were back here, they weren't really making the best use of every resource that they had on that side. So that's really, that's really kind of where I am with the broadcast angle of it. I think they need to have people that are feeding them more information and not just lazy information like, oh, it's this driver's birthday today. Or, oh, it's, this guy drove for this team before. It's like, people know this stuff. I think they need to give the fans a little more credit and show that, look, there's a lot of things we can tell, but we like the show. We like the display of it. Make it interesting. Make it compelling. Don't oversell it. Don't be like, oh, well, who cares what's happening now? Later, it's going to be really exciting, really crazy. Describe what's happening. What's happening now is exciting. It's race cars going around a track, for Pete's sake. That should be the exciting part of this. And then this is where it comes back to, the other part of it. And inform us. Take advantage of the fact that you have access to this material, that you could have people listening to the scanner, you can have people working in the garage area and say, hey, I want to know what's going on with this team, go down there and find out what's happening, and then relay that information to us. Like, that would be great. Don't just be like, oh, I don't know what's happening. Well, we don't know what's happening. So that's kind of the big thing on that. So, and again, I don't want to make it all, too much negative on that, but that's the broadcast angle over there, Mr. Antiant. That's definitely something that I'm, definitely passionate about. And I do think that that's a big issue with a lot of that there. It's again, I don't feel like I'm being informed, and I don't feel like I'm being entertained. I feel like I'm just droning on, and I just want to tune out. And it's unfortunate, because of course I don't want to mute it because I want to hear the cars. So you don't really have that option. I know some people mute the TV and listen to the radio. It's tricky getting that to sync up, so you got that problem. It's kind of tricky with all of that. So yeah, and again, and I know this is what the networks are going to say, and they're going to say, well, hey, there's COVID restrictions, we can't do a whole lot of these different things. There's not anything we can do to be able to see more than just the TV screen. They're probably just looking at just the screen we have. I doubt it. They're probably looking at multiple different angles, or they should be able to have access to it from the people that are doing the filming at the track. This is where the other half of it is. It's actually in the way that the camera angles work, where, even in this race, as good as it was, when they just hold the camera in the corner and watch the cars go by, and then hold it in another corner, watch the cars go by, and then watch the corner and watch the cars go by from the same direction each time. Move the cameras around, move them into the infield. I know they had some issues with some cameramen that were coming down from upstairs. They had lightning issues, so obviously safety is important on that part of it. But even when they don't have that issue, they still have that problem. So that's kind of part of it. And we saw a lot of that really between the Xfinity race and the Cup race this weekend, where an accident would happen and they'd have just the worst possible replay, where they're just aiming the camera straight across the track. I'm still not entirely sure what happened that got BJ McLeod and Jeffrey Earnhardt tangled up in turn 2 in the Xfinity race. And we'll talk about the Xfinity race, of course, as well. And I guess preview the Truck Series race. We'll make this kind of a preview show for that and all that. But it's a crazy situation there. But hopefully something else will turn out on there. But the broadcast could certainly be improved in the same standpoint there. But yeah, again, but I think again it's important to keep in mind just how many positives there were from this race. I think this was absolutely, and I don't really care about the championship part of it. I mean, it showed that was just a very small part of it. Certainly it was dramatic with what happened with Jimmy Johnson and William Byron taking the victory and everything. But great race throughout the field, and you saw a lot of people getting featured. That's the other thing I thought was nice. They were not running single file; they were running 2 and 3 wide a lot of times. Even when they were lapping traffic, it was close. When Ross Chastain got lapped, or when Josh Willy got lapped at the end of another stage. When you had a lot of teams like that, I thought that was fantastic. Very different from what we saw in the Xfinity race yesterday, which was crash after crash, and we'll certainly talk about that. Looking at the rest of the results, Ross Chastain, mentioning him, 16th place finish, actually finished ahead of Johnson there with the number 77 car, the team that won last year with Justin Haley. It was a little surprised to not see Haley run the Sunday race, but put Chastain in there instead. Still finishing on the lead lap in 16th, better run than he had at Daytona in the 500, where he caused a big wreck that collected Joey Logano in that one, and Ryan Preece and all that at the same time. Johnson being one spot behind him in 8 seconds, actually 7.2 seconds back of Chastain in the 17th spot. Still showing 22 cars on the lead lap. Although LaJoie and Dillon were in the last 2 spots, they were both certainly damaged in those wrecks on the last lap there. LaJoie had a pretty hard hit. He was listed as 4/10 back of the leader, which would have put him still inside the top 8 at the time of that accident. So that was unfortunate for the 32 team. Same with Ty Dillon, who's really had some good runs on the super speedways. He's running second behind Suarez for a lot of that. Shows him in the 22nd spot. Timmy Hill in the 24th spot. Heartbreaker run for him on Friday in the Xfinity race, where it looked like he had a great run going in the Joe Gibbs racing car. Had a tire go down and drop him towards the back. I guess we'll transition into the Xfinity race here as we keep going. If Garrison, if you have any more questions on the Cup race, we'll certainly talk about that. The other thing, I'm also digging on some more last place statistics to tie into the deal there. Chad Canal says never missed the playoffs or the chase. Well, hey, how about that? Yeah, well, I mean, certainly with William Byron, they had the right strategy and made that work out for them. Let's see here. Yeah, Suarez still 26th. Actually finished ahead of both Logano and Kenseth. Really pleased with Kenseth in this. This is one of the best runs he's had since Darlington this year. So a great effort for him and the the team there. Let's see. All right. I saw a comment on here on Twitter from Brian Holman. Oh, he's a big supporter. I really enjoy his photography for sure. Asking, do you think TV loses track at the end of the races when things happen late? Probably to a degree. It's hard to tell. Like you have like different situations with all that, but I think they lose track of things happening in the middle of the race. To be perfectly honest, if it doesn't involve the leaders, I think they're just completely out to lunch on that. But I think maybe either if you have a second group or somebody else that's follows the further back in the field and maybe refers things up the chain and and says, okay, well, this thing's happening, we probably should talk about this, rather than have Michael Waltrip standing over there saying, hey, it's his birthday today. Like who cares? Like interesting information. We have that's probably the biggest problem with the broadcast. Bring it full circle of that. They act like the internet doesn't exist. They act like it doesn't exist or like it's just some toy that some people are interested in. It's like, did you know that this happened? It's like, yeah, I think we did. It's like, did you know this happened? Yeah. Like, well, like actually, not everybody that has, Twitter or whatever has access to what they have access to. Tell me about other stuff we don't know. Like, they can do that. It just takes work. And well, sometimes they don't do the work. I mean, it's just true. But again, yeah, great race on there. Oh, LaJoie fan 32. I'm sure you're not happy for sure. Unfortunate deal there with LaJoie. He had a great run going there. Just got turned. I don't know who turned him on the backstretch there, but pretty hard hit it looked like. Hopefully he's doing okay there after the wreck there on the backstretch. Unofficially showing him, where is he? We were just talking about him. Yeah, 21st spot there. Still crediting him on the tail end of the lead lap here, but we'll see if that counts as the last lap completed or not once the results get refreshed here. I don't see the did I pull up Pockrass's count here? Let's see, I'm sure they haven't called the technical inspection. It'll probably take even longer with this particular race here. Playoff standings. Yeah, no updates on that. So I imagine they're going to take quite a while there with everything there. Arian Gomez, thank you for the super chat there as well. It was a good dramatic race. A bum for Jimmy Jr. Johnson. I'm already thinking it's throwback weekend next week. Jimmy Johnson, of course, yeah, terrible run, terrible deal there for him there. he had a great run going. Kind of reminded me of Dale Jr. in his retirement season, where in that one he had a bit more damage in the car and he was able to still go for the lead. Just absolutely putting it all out there as best as he could, but unfortunately not the outcome certainly that they were hoping for. But I was serious though. I hope that maybe Lionel considers make a diecast of that car and showing the never give up attitude to the 48 team. It would be something neat to kind of tie in with. I know they've made Earnhardt's wrecked car from Daytona before, and they should have made Richard Petty's car from the Hooters 500 in '92. I think that would be something pretty neat on that for sure. Maybe something else will kind of work out on that. But I think Jimmy Johnson will be fun to watch at the end here. I mean, it's going to be. I'm sure it's a bit of reality setting in, unfortunately, that that he had at one point was even like 11 points to the good, making the championship round there, but it's now going to be on the wrong side of the line. Cliff Daniels seems to keep things really positive as best as he can, and they were right on it to get that car back out there and just stay focused. Hopefully, these last 10 races, we can see him pull something off there. He's got another super speedway race, another road course race. We saw how close he was to winning the Roval there, but that'll be a different situation there. But unfortunate deal with that, but that'll be an interesting situation with that. There is a race tomorrow, yes, Safe Fit Enterprises, that's for sure. I decided to go ahead and do this tonight, though, because obviously the chase implication or playoff implications will be more of a feature. We'll kind of preview the Gateway race. We won't do a show after that one, more than likely, but there will be an article, of course, for that one, and we'll sub all that up. But certainly couldn't ignore the action from tonight's race and, of course, Friday's race as well that we'll get into here as well. Really like the throwback trucks that GMS Racing put forward there on that team. I think that's going to be a lot of fun to see. We're not going to be doing Darlington this year. I know we did it last year and in 2017. I don't know if it's going to be an every other year event or not, but we're still looking at Phoenix right now in November. We're getting things prepared on that end. Now that we know also that it's not going to be Johnson going for the championship, but at least going to be his last race as a full-time driver and see what's going to be the story there. Again, unofficially, it's going to be very competitive trying to get into that. We're still hopeful of our chances on that, but we'll try to make it work one way or the other and get something going there for you guys in November because it's been quite a long time since we covered a race since February. And those of you who, of course, in the Lastreon, I've been meaning to get our magnet done here for another one of our trips to make sure you guys get your money's worth there and get your names on our car there as we go to the next race. And that one will also be given away in a drawing once we finish the Phoenix weekend as well. So look ahead to that for you. And that's, again, for everybody that's $1 level and up in the Lastreon, either that were active back in Fontana and, of course, anybody that's joined since then. Let's see. Oh, my goodness, we got 40 people in here. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Don't be afraid to say hi for those of you that are new. We're certainly talking about the action there for the Cup Series and everything. Let's see. Let's see. I'm going to get the results from the Xfinity race. We'll talk about that. Goodness, very surprised to see Martin Truex do as well as he did in this the race earlier tonight. He's usually not known for doing a good performance at Daytona, but seemed to really shake that off this time around. I know he had the runner-up finish in the photo finish with Hamlin in 500, but it seems like other than that, he usually struggles quite a bit. Speaking of struggles, let's talk about all the accidents we had in the race yesterday, the Wallah 250 for the Xfinity Series. Justin Haley, while he was not in the Cup Series race, he did pull off a victory there when two of his teammates decided that they were tired of running 1-2. 1 year after A.J. Allmendinger gets disqualified and classified last in the July race, you have Justin Haley taking the victory after Ross Chastain makes a move on Allmendinger for the lead, wrecks the both of them, wrecks Austin Cindric, a couple other drivers involved there. Haley gets the win. Gray Gaulding gets second for the second time in his career, almost bookended the field for SS Greenlight Racing. Bobby Daughter's team, fantastic run for him, showing that the Daughter team made a very, very serious mistake in not keeping him in that car. He is doing a fantastic job. He had an outside shot of making the playoffs when he was in the 08 a couple of years ago. And it's good to see him continue to have these great runs out there, which is surprising, given that he was rather unheralded in the Cup Series. He seems to be in the right spot there in the Xfinity Series, getting good runs. I'd love to see him be able to compete there more often. Josh Williams was running in the top 5 inside the last 20 laps, got shuffled back to the 9th spot. Was able to have a good run for Mario Gosling's team, whose other 2 cars were involved in accidents after running very fast early on. It's unfortunate that they didn't have good runs to show for it there. Both Cesar Baccarella has been very good at Daytona in his part-time efforts, had a good run in the February race a couple years ago, but this time around gets collected in the incident that brought the last place finisher Joe Graff Jr. in the other SS Greenlight car. Collided with Baccarella there at the start. Baccarella ends up blowing a tire and wrecking on the backstretch. At the same time, John Jackson spun out in turn 1, had 4 flat tires. Jackson apparently ran over some debris from Graff's car, and Graff had a very serious accident there on the tri-oval, tore the car absolutely all to pieces. The team thought they could get him back out there, but the driver was certainly very dejected over the radio and pulled to the inside. It was a nice-looking car. But unfortunately, short afternoon for him after only 7 laps, finishing in the last spot. I know that not everybody likes the, well, I can't tell exactly. I know that the in-your-face kind of graphics that were on the car, I like those, but at the same time, it was a little silly, unfortunately, when a team gets wrecked out like that, and then they have a woke AF or, BAMF and all that stuff on the back of the car, and then get wrecked. I couldn't resist, of course, putting last AF as the headline for the article. Whether or not people like that or not, it is what it is. I try not to be too cheeky in my articles too often. I know, but I do know at the same time that a certain portion of my readership reads it as a satire site to a degree. So every once in a while, I guess, sometimes take a little bit of liberty with some of the things with the headlines there. I think I did something like that when Danica Patrick got last in the Xfinity series for the first time. But certainly in that, again, still talking about the efforts of the team and the fact that he had a very unusual statistic by finishing last in both the races at Daytona. What was unusual, though, is that he wasn't the first, that it had happened twice other before, with Dexter Bean in 2015, again in a Mario Gosling car, and then in 2012 with Jeff Green, although that was a start and park effort. Arguably, Dexter Bean's would have been the same, too, because at the time, the 92 was an expansion start and park effort, not like today where Josh Williams is running it consistently on a week-to-week basis. But unfortunately, a wreck that you had the same situation there for Joe Graff Jr., and a short evening for him in the number 08. Cody Vanderwall and Jeffrey Earnhardt rounded out the bottom 5 in that one. B.J. McLeod had a bit of damage. I'm surprised he was out with crash damage there. I guess they had an issue getting the rear panel back together, but dropped back. But with all these accidents and all these incidents that happened in that one, so many drivers falling out with accidents and the damaged vehicle policy at the exact same time, you did have a number of great runs here. Got to make sure to mention, we mentioned Greg Galding and Josh Williams right off the bat. Right behind Williams was Jesse Little, a top 10 finish for him with JD Motorsports, 2 spots ahead of Colby Howard. Howard having his career best finish. He had a great run back in, I think it was in Kansas before he got wrecked there. Unfortunately, didn't have a good finish to show for it. This time around gets a good run in the 12th spot. Right behind Vinnie Miller, I really like the way the 78 car looked. It may have been plain white on it, but they really sealed up the nose of it there and made the car look like a good super speedway car. Good to see Vinnie Miller get a good finish there, tying, I believe, his season best in the 11th spot. Tommy Joe Martins improving on his 15th place run earlier this year, getting a 14th place run this time in the number 44 car. Great run for him. Actually passed the last car to pass Allmendinger, who crashed on the final lap there, as we mentioned. And then the Harmon team, even though Mike Harmon swapped out his dynamic duo of Bailey Curry and Kyle Weatherman, Mike Harmon and Tim Beans drafted each other during the entire race, ended up getting lapped towards the end of the event in the last 15 or 20 laps, and then ended up finishing in the 17th and 18th spot, 1 lap down. They were actually the 3rd and 4th cars 1 lap down, so great runs for them. Again, even in a super speedway, Mike Harmon team has done so much this year, and it's been very impressive. Haven't heard yet if they're actually going to make the diecast or not of Kyle Weatherman's car that got Harmon his first top 10 at Kentucky. Hopefully, I placed my own bid on that, I will freely admit, because I think that it would be great if they commemorated something that Harmon has accomplished this year, given the amount of grief that team has faced over so many years of just being a start and park team or just being an irrelevancy. They've certainly definitely changed their footing on that. And I think they've been one of the best stories to follow this year, much like Brandon Brown and Greg Galding were last year. Speaking of Brandon Brown, he had a great run until he had some damage in this one as well. Also, certainly very pleased to hear about his father, Jerry, the fact that he's recovered from cancer treatment there, that he got to ring the bell there. And so certainly hoping that things are certainly better for the Brown family there. Great run for the number 68 team for much of that race. It looked like he had an outside chance of actually pulling off a bit of an upset there and perhaps shaking up their own playoff standings before the cutoff. Unfortunately, ended up back in the 26th spot out under the damaged vehicle policy. Brett Moffitt unable to back up his good run at Dover. He got collected in one of those accidents, finishing in 27th spot. Joey Gase looked like he had a preview for his throwback scheme again to his old late model days. The number 99 car ended up in one of those accidents in the 28th spot. Somebody was asking earlier about the throwback trucks for the Truck Series at Dover. Really a big fan of those. I think they look fantastic. The Ricky Hendrick truck is way overdue. Glad to see they're finally doing that. They got the banana car, the Junior Johnson throwback on the 26, and some of the other ones there. I really like the way they look. I mean, it's amazing to see the Wood Brothers scheme on that. Man, it makes me want to be there in Darlington, but I think we're going to give that one a pass this year. But I'm sure it's going to be something to see there. And hopefully the fans have good access to the infield and get some great pictures of those cars and trucks in the infield. I swear. I will maintain this, especially with the throwback weekend. Darlington, I recommend to everybody. I recommend any track I've been to, but especially Darlington, because again, it's like a convention. It's like Comic-Con for NASCAR. You got people there wearing throwback gear and all that stuff. You got even media members and stuff. I was sitting 3 seats over. I was wearing my Jerry Nadeau uniform shirt. Sitting 3 seats over from me was somebody wearing Spam gear from Lake Speed's team, and somebody else that was working with me that whose family worked with the LG DeWitt, Ray DeWitt team. Ted Musgrave drove for back in the day. That was always a fun one there for sure. LaJoy fan asking about Timmy Hill in the Friday race. Yeah, that was the issue. He had a tire go down and had to make an unscheduled stop while he was running towards the front there. Looked like he was trying to link up with Ryan Sieg towards the end. Sieg was back there, but both of them ended up laps down, and it went green for too long, and they couldn't get back into it. So an unfortunate deal with that. Austin Dillon is really been impressive in that same sense, but that's been kind of a thing there too. AJ Dinger fan, yeah, thank you for checking in. Sorry I couldn't stick around too much, but I know it's getting kind of late on the East Coast. It's 8:20 here on the West Coast, and I'm sure it's much later on the East here. 8-Bit Enterprises, you mentioned this. Yeah, rest in peace, Chadwick Boseman. Absolutely. I think that came as a shock to everybody, certainly, and not to bring things down too much, but certainly understandable that his life has touched so many through his work and his films, and certainly was a big part of that. But hopefully, certainly, things are okay for his family, and they have the solace that they need in that. As I said on Twitter the other day, I mean, you sometimes never know what people are dealing with, and obviously during this whole situation, I think what's particularly galling is that it's difficult, I think, at times for people to get certain treatment and everything, and during the challenges there. So it does kind of bring a lot of that home. But again, certainly thoughts go out to, of course, to his family and his fans on that as well. Mr. Antian, thank you again so much for the super chat here. NBC should hire John Hindaw for Lap by Lap. I don't know who that is. That's a new one on me. Not exactly sure on that one, but that would be. I'm trying to remember. Did he do whatever sport did he do? You don't have to put this in a super chat, but just mention there. I could Google it. I'm sure, but it could be somebody I've heard before, but I'm just not thinking of. And commentator. Okay, I see somebody from England. Okay, that would be fun. I mean, some people don't like. He does IMSA. Okay. I mean, some people don't like Lee Diffie and stuff like that. I never understand that, but I think, yeah, if you get somebody internationally out there, they can be really entertaining for sure. But that would be something to see at the same time. Jack Earl, yeah, I've seen you ask this a couple times here. My favorite season for the Winston Cup Series. That's a tough call. The other day I was thinking about the 2010 season, and when I was doing the starting grids that year, I think that was probably the year I was most proud of those grids. Because I think there were a lot of really interesting storylines. 2011 was fantastic because you had all those first-time winners and everything, and really unusual circumstances, even races on like mile and a halves and stuff. But I think the championship battle in 2010 was outstanding because you had Harvick and Johnson and Hamlin each be fantastic for portions of that season, and they were kind of the big three that year. And to have the championship go down to between Johnson and Hamlin at the end, and Hamlin having the spin at Homestead there, and Johnson winning the 5th straight championship, that was a big battle in that one. Probably 2010 and 2011 were both really, really good. I kind of view 2012 as kind of a lost season, although I like Keselowski's battle with Johnson in that one. But 2011, I think, was so much happened that year. That would be right up there. There's some seasons, that maybe you're better than others, and you think about how unpredictable some years could be, like 2002, where it seems like nobody wanted to lead the points and everything was very much up in the air. But 2011 was outstanding. I mean, unfortunately, it did have its share of tragedy, of course, with Dan Weldon's accident at Las Vegas. But even that year's Indy 500 was fantastic, of course. And you think about, and that was one of the greatest Memorial Day weekends because you had Weldon's win in the Indy 500. You had the last lap fuel mileage race there when Casey Kane ran out of fuel, and then Junior ran out of fuel, and Harvick won the race. David Reagan got second. Reagan got his retribution at Daytona in July after getting the switching lanes too soon in February. And, of course, that one handed the win to the upset of Trevor Bayne, who was just stunningly turning heads there very early in his career after really outperforming in 2010 in his debut at Texas. Really, really interesting. I'm struggling to think of who won the 2011 Monaco Grand Prix. It's Formula One doesn't stick in my mind as well in the recent years. I have a feeling it would be another Lewis Hamilton win or anything odds on, or well, I guess Vettel. I guess Vettel was still really good that year. Yeah, probably on that same time period. But yeah, that was really something on that. A lot of the first time winners. Marcus Ambrose's win, the first time at Watkins Glen, that was really good. Now, not as good as the 2012 finish, which is absolutely legendary. Just oiled down a track at the finish, and my goodness, it's just a complete unpredictable deal there. That's another broadcaster that should be back up there is Alan Bestwick. He made that call there at the 2012 Watkins Glen finish and just knew when to just watch it and just be like, man, I'm just on the edge of my seat. This race tonight kind of had a lot of that. Let's see. Yeah, when Marcos won, that was amazing. I miss Marcus Ambrose. I miss Marcus Ambrose and Juan Montoya. I think they were a lot of fun, and I think especially Montoya, didn't really get the respect he was due in the series. I think he was outstanding to watch at Sears Point, and I would have loved to see him in action in Indianapolis during those times that he should have won the Brickyard 400. And unfortunately, one reason or another, got eliminated from winning that. That became kind of the last big story at Indianapolis before that race just kind of, just hasn't felt as big as it used to be, which is unfortunate given of course, the history of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. But that's a whole other story. Speaking of which, I had a question. I had questions about the series with the videos of what I'm working on here. I made a mention of this. Those of you in the Patreon have already seen this message on here. I do have a new idea for some videos, plural, to make for the channel here. I think what I've done in the past is just done these standalones on just stories I think are just kind of interesting and picking them out here, and there. I have a couple that kind of fit that idea, and I was doing some research on it, and some of it kind of overlapped with a book that I was working on. Not the book that I'm still waiting on getting published. That one is still going to be a book, but this other one I had before that one came together, I think this one's going to make a much better series of videos. So that's kind of what I'm looking at doing. I don't mean to sound too vague on it, but I'm still kind of getting the information together and trying to get a good script together. But I think it'll be something really good. I think if it comes together the way I'm starting to think of it, I think it's going to be something really entertaining. And that's going to be, again, something we'll have some more information on that. And I think it's going to be something that's also going to be more fitting with a lot of the coverage on the Last Car side as well. Whereas I talk a little bit about some teams maybe incidentally finishing last. It's come up here and there in some of the videos, even 3 before February to a degree. I think this is going to fit much more with kind of the small team kind of theme. So that's kind of what I'm working on with that. I don't want to give too much away on that, but we'll leave some more breadcrumbs as we get closer to that as well. Let's see. Favorite McDuffie season, 1979, Ben Hedkin. I see your question on that. 1979 for sure. That was his year that he led all those laps at the Nashville Fairgrounds. The year he made the Busch Clash for the first time. That would probably, well, I guess, yeah. 79 was the Nashville one. 78 he won the pole at Dover, but he didn't finish well in that one. But I think that was probably his best season and best overall. And also, right, not long before the downsizing of the cars, it seemed like he didn't adjust quite as well when the cars were reduced there. I think that was probably his best season. At least the one that I'd love to see some footage. If there's footage that's unearthed about 1979 at Nashville, I'm sure it's rattling around in the NASCAR archive somewhere. I think that would be a fantastic thing to watch for sure. Yep, that's right, Van Hadkin. Yep, he won on the McCreary tires in 78 and got to make that. I think, yeah, 79 probably my favorite season of it. It definitely was significant for him there. And I think that was really the turning point where he kind of went from being kind of like this longtime veteran that's like right on the cusp of winning, kind of like Richard Childress or Dick Brooks kind of type of driver. I know Brooks won, whereas Childress didn't, but kind of in that mix to, I think after that point, he kind of became more the Dave Marcus, Johnny McFadden, Jimmy Means kind of driver where he's just a long time independent, where he's just kind of out there and just trying to do as many starts as he could. I think that was kind of the seminal moment that kind of transitioned him from one to the other. It's kind of an interesting thing to talk about in the books there for sure. Very pleased with how the book's doing, by the way, still. I still have copies. I need to order some more copies for my own personal collection. I do have, I believe, one more copy if anybody wants to order one that I can sign directly. If anybody wants their copy signed, we can also work something out on that. My email is always open on that. Also, my direct messages, too, if you want to contact me on Twitter that way. So that's certainly open there. Who could be considered a modern-day J.D. McDuffie? Oh, J.J. Ailey, I would say. Absolutely. Our last-place finisher today, a lot of overlap there. A competitor who was outstanding in Silver Crown and other series in looking at some of his information, used to be that he was again kind of this top prospect coming in. Unfortunately, he hasn't had that victory, but still out there just doing as many races as he can, and now even declared for Truck Series points to kind of do that. I think he's probably the closest to it. Yeah, McDowell, Sorensen, yeah, that's another good pick too. I think that would fit in there. I mean, he's definitely in that conversation. Back when we've now had this wave now where we've had some of these drivers that kind of fit in that group retire. Rick Mast years ago, Dave Blaney more recently, competitors like that are kind of just not really out there as much. Sorensen, I think, is probably the next one that's kind of on that edge there. But again, from the same rookie class as Yaley. David Stremme comes to mind. That's another one. I would put Yaley over Stremme, but Sorensen is also good. Yaley and Sorensen are good drivers to pick to kind of get your car out there and kind of shake it down and do, not getting too many wrecks or anything like that. It seemed to be pretty good on equipment. I think it's what's keeping them out there all those times. Jeff Green would probably be another one too if you're going to expand it to the Xfinity series, although he seems to really be a threat in these Xfinity races. It's too bad he didn't have the race on Friday, isn't it? It seemed like they were going to be setting up the 38 car again, but I guess that didn't come together there. Yeah. No, Sorensen's cool. I think I've only talked to the man once, but it was very clear that back at Daytona, he was very emotional in February, thinking that maybe that was going to be his last run in the 500. And I guess maybe he knew about Premium Motorsports' impending merger with Rick Ware and not sure where he'd fall into it. Luckily, we've seen Sorensen make some other starts since then, including the fake state car, which I hope they make diecast of. That 74 car in Michigan, I think we maybe saw it once that entire weekend. I thought that was a fantastic paint scheme. I think was it Ryan Pistana that did it? Whoever did it did a fantastic job. And a car number we don't see that often. And kudos for using the open top 4 on the numbers. I thought that looked great. I think it's one of my favorites this year. That would be a good one. Wasn't one of the announcers from Terrible Broadcast 500 based on Phil? It could be, debatably. There are some people I had in mind, certainly on certain aspects of it. I think you could probably pick those out. J.J. Yaley for the last car championship? Yeah, last year. Well, again, look at my Twitter account. There's that picture I had. He was so cool about that, giving him the certificate last year. That's the other reason I want to do Phoenix this year. I want to print some more certificates, and hopefully I can get close enough. I don't know with the social distancing. If I have to get a grabber hook or something and telescope it out and reach it out to him that way, it might end up being what we end up doing that weekend. But I would like to do that again because I thought that everybody seemed to have a lot of fun with that. And Yaley was I think he was the really coolest about that. So we were able to do that at the same time. Rest in peace, Myrtle Beach Speedway. I haven't seen Slapshoe's video on that. I got to check that out. I know he did a video on that. That's on my playlist to check out here. Nothing new yet on that. Yeah. Let's see here. Okay. We'll do a little bit of trivia here too. I know the show's kind of running kind of late here, but I know we got a lot of people in here, so we'll kind of jump into that. Any other questions from the Xfinity race? We can jump into that too. Yeah, Dale Hemrick got that right. I mean, yeah, all the JR Motorsports cars got collected in that one wreck. That was unfortunate. It wasn't any of their fault. I said it wasn't going to be a fun meeting in JR Motorsports, but obviously it wasn't any of their faults. But I figured, well, I mean, they don't really have anything that they could take from it. They had like, well, I wrecked. Yeah, I wrecked too. And might just be a short meeting, really, if anything else. But those are the breaks. I mean, some days you're the bug, some days you're the windshield, and that was certainly the case for a lot of teams in the Xfinity series. Shout out to John Jackson, though. I know he's a big follower of the website, the Last Card on Info site. I'd love to meet him in one of the. We need to cover a super speedway race, so I have a chance to actually meet him face to face. I met one of his relatives at Darlington, and he told me that he really enjoyed following the site. I was pleased that Billy Fulcher followed the site too. I was talking with him at Darlington before. Man, I'd love to do Darlington again, but that might be a bit further in the future. We'll look at something like that down the road. Luckily, with everything this year, I think that's given us a chance to kind of re-examine what our schedule is going to be next year, and in terms of our trackside coverage, and we'll certainly play it by ear about everything. Certainly looking forward to doing Sonoma again, or Sears Point rather, and covering that properly, and we'll get to that point. Let's see. What year did I start watching, Daniel? 1991. That was the first year I started watching the Cup races. My opinion on Steve Phelps, neutral. I mean, it's I'm used to the France family being more in control, but I know Brian wasn't really didn't really have the best tenure during that, and I think they're trying to figure stuff out. Some decisions that they're behind, and some decisions I'm behind, some decisions I'm not, but I'm gonna take the fifth on most of that at the same time. Yeah, Scottish legend Johnny Jackson, exactly, the Johnny Jackson. Yeah, haven't met him face to face yet, but I intend to in one of these races. Hopefully, garage access will be more accessible. That's a big thing I'm concerned for Phoenix. I have no idea what it's going to be like. If I could do the reporting from the booth, but I'm not gonna. It's not going to be quite as good, but I think we can work. We can work around it. We'll find something for it. We'll get that going there at the same time. 48 made the owners playoff, so I guess with Allgaier and all that deal there. So you're watching races with all three 7-time champions in it. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, I watched Jimmie Johnson's entire career, a good part of Earnhardt's later career. Certainly, I mean, not all of his starts in the black car, but most of them. And then, yeah, I remember Richard Petty's final season there. I always loved Petty's 1992 paint scheme. The 91 and 92 cars were some of his best. Those were chariots befitting of a king. And I would certainly count that at the same time. Very happy for William Byron. I remember picking him to win Darlington last fall when he was driving the Cole Trickle car. I thought he was going to have a good run there. Unfortunately, he got in a wreck in that. But it was exciting to see him win the pole, and him and Chad Knaus kind of gel here a bit. But interesting deal there. Yeah, I really like Norm Benning's truck. Love the 57 that he ran at Eldora. That would be cool to see him compete again. It was really cool to see him actually compete in person at Mosport last year. Thanks to our friend Rob Taylor up there, who was working on the team up in Canada. Really enjoyed that one. I think the Canada was a fun venue. I explored so little of the track during that because the garage area and the media center, it's a little bit of a trek to get from one to the other. So I was just mostly on the straightaway. But well after the race, kind of did a lap around it, and it's gorgeous up there. Just carved into the trees. Beautiful area up there. Very, very, very placid, very peaceful. it's kind of like that. So that was something. Saw Terry Labonte's last 10 seasons after he retired. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. Yeah, the start of Petty's run in the '92 Pepsi 400. Yeah, that's a legendary moment. I couldn't wait to make a video about that. Just to kind of throw that in there because I think that's one that just gets your hairs standing up on end there as Petty's coming around the track and Mark Martin gets in behind him, and that was really something else. Let's see. Bob just tweeted, as the only rookie to make the playoffs, Cole Custer will be Rookie of the Year. I thought rookie points were based on playoffs. That doesn't seem to make any sense. Yeah. I hope they don't just give it to him before the season's over with. That's kind of ridiculous. I mean, I'm sure it's weighted in the factors, but we'll wait and see on that. I think Reddick would make a more compelling case for a solid rookie this year. Or, like, really, I mean, we didn't really see Custer at all this year until he won that race at Kentucky. Before that, Reddick had a really good start. Bell was a bit off, and then he started getting his feet under him after May or June or so, and now we've had a little bit of closing of the gap a little bit here, but we'll see what happens here. It was like that with Ankrum. Okay, yeah, not sure exactly on that. Okay, well, let's get some trivia here. I'm gonna move the camera a little bit because I got to get into my bag of tricks here, and we'll do a couple of questions here before we close up for the night. I know we're getting close to. Oh, make sure we didn't lose. Okay, no, that's battery on the other thing. Yeah. Okay. All right. We'll bring that right back over here. Okay, bring the camera up a little bit. We got to get the camera angles worked out in here moving forward. Yeah, how about that William Byron, though? Yeah, fantastic. For those of you just joining us, yeah, certainly talking about William Byron and his first win. Still waiting for official word. Have we seen anything on Pockrass's channel here? Or his account? Let's see. Okay, Jimmy Johnson. Yeah, he's got a video about Jimmy Johnson here, just tweeted about 35 seconds ago. So he has Johnson's account of the incident here. I guess we can play that. Can we play? I don't know if you'll hear it on the speakers, but let's give that a try. It's just a very brief one here.
Got the right side.
Oh, okay. Yeah, you might be able to hear this. Let's see.
I could see some rooftops moving around, and I knew something was going on, and I saw the 43 car in the outside wall. But he gathered it up, and we all kind of got rolling again down into turn one, and then I could not see what really started things on the lower lanes. But I got the right side wall just a little bit, and then somebody clobbered me from the bottom side. Something happened in the lower lanes that I didn't see, and somebody spun up into me.
Yep, there you go. That's about all she wrote there for Johnson. I'll share the tweet here so you can actually see the visuals here with it. We're going to get, long term here, we're going to get back to the setup that we had at the other location here, have the screen and everything, so hopefully we can do something more with that. And, whoop, can I just get the quote? I just want the quote. Come on. Let's get that right here, and I'll drop that in the chat here for you guys. Lance Armstrong gave Johnson a shout out. Well, there you go. That's a clip. You probably couldn't hear it very well over the thing, but we got it on there, so you can see that as well. All right. And, oh, okay, not that. Make sure I close the right window. Okay. All right. Okay, so yeah, we're more than an hour into it. We've talked about the Xfinity race. We talked about the Cup race. We haven't really talked about the Truck Series race. I guess we can touch on that briefly here. Do we have a lineup already for the Truck Series race? I'm not sure if we do. Okay, we do, yes. Zane Smith drawing the pole there, looking to keep his momentum going. Brett Moffitt, Matt Crafton, Austin Hill, Ben Rhodes, Todd Gilliland, Christian Eckes, Tyler Ankrum, Johnny Sauter, and Derek Kraus, your top 10 starters. Starting in the last spot, 34 truck field, is Roger Roos. It was returning the number 49 truck for the first time since he finished last in the Daytona road course without starting the race because of clutch issues. Hopefully he does not have those same issues. Again, Roos, he and his brother Bobby, big fans of the website there, got to meet him in Canada last year. There's a feature on them on the website that I linked back in the Rogers article for Daytona. So if you want to check that out, you'll be able to learn more about the both of them. Very supportive guys there for the site. Really enjoyed returning the favor there and talking about them. Norm Benning in the next to last spot. Kyle Donahue in the number 00. Tyler Hill, who apparently grew some hair with the sponsorship from Hair Club, is going to have a bit longer hair than myself here in the 31st position. And Danny Bone returning to the On Point Motorsports number 30 in the 30th spot there. Those will be your bottom 5 starters. Who will be your last place finisher? We'll find out tomorrow morning in the Gateway race. I'll do some updates on the Twitter account, and then we'll do an article after that. But we won't do a live stream after that race. More than likely, we'll just do the one tonight and sum that up from there. I don't think Corbin Forrester is in the race. The 7 truck didn't enter this one, which is unusual. You would think that they would be still in the mix, but a different situation from there. We'll do a couple trivia questions here to kind of round out the show here. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We got 33 people in here. Okay, so we'll get a few more guesses here. We don't have the cat in here for the last one. This is a different room. For those of you who tuned in our Indianapolis show, I know it was a bit scattered, but I don't think the pets in the show is probably going to be a long-term thing. So I'm afraid it was a bit distracting there from that. But he did enjoy being in the show that week there. So we did do that in the same case here. Okay. So, whoop, hang on. Okay, not that. Okay. So we're going to do categories again. We got 6 different categories. Go ahead and chime in here which category you'd like us to do some questions for. We have NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. NASCAR, pits, teams, tracks, drivers, and the wild card. Okay, whichever one has the most picks, we will do that. I see a few coming up here already. Again, stay tuned for more content here on this YouTube channel. And again, for those of you who haven't checked out the Patreon, patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock. I have some other ideas for some other content I want to work on here. Now that things are getting settled, I've started a new job here these last couple of weeks. Very pleased with it so far. Working with some people there and having some more regular hours here. I'm going to be basically just at this location here for these future shows and getting kind of stuff set up in here. That's still subject to change with some other things I'm working on here at the same time. Yeah, very pleased to be able to kind of get some of these other ideas together in the meantime, and hopefully have some more content for you all in the very near future at the same time. I see, let's see, you got 1, 2, you got a couple for the wild card. We have a couple for teams, pits, tracks, drivers. Let's see a couple, at least 2 for the wild card. We'll probably do wild card here, and then we can shake it up if we run a little long here. Alrighty, here we go. Oh, this is a good question to lead off. Talk about a wild card question. All right, we're going old school style here. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? There's a loaded question. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? That is our first question. Looking for a classic driver, one of those forerunners. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? That draws an interesting picture, for sure. I'm just going to turn off my tablet here in the meantime, so it's just going to start chirping at us here. All right, keep that over here on our deal there. All right, we have several guesses for Fireball Roberts. I mean, you guys are right on the button here. Who earned infamy for high-speed midnight races in reverse with Joe Weatherly? It sounds like a Fireball Roberts question, doesn't it? And the answer is Curtis Turner. Curtis Turner. There you go. You can see it on the camera a little better. Curtis Turner is the correct answer. Another slap shoes subject. All righty. There you go. Yeah, who would have thought? How about that? Alrighty. So here's the next question. What future Cup champion tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear? What future Cup champ tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear? Alrighty, the off-track lives of Cup Series champions is our next category here. What future Cup champ tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear. I see Maserati 9 and Andrew Hayes have guesses. Anybody else have guesses? Don't be afraid to type them in. There is no such thing as a bad guess. What future Cup champ tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear? All right, we got guesses for Yarborough, Pearson, Petty, Ned Jarrett, Red Farmer. See, this one's up in the air. Go ahead and put any guess out there. I don't know this one either. This could be really up there. We're talking about Cup champions that tried turkey farming before they got his NASCAR career in gear. Okay. Yeah, Adam Pope, you got Earnhardt. Again, we got other guesses there. Yeah. Drained the energy out there after being on the edge of my seat there for 2.5 hours. Okay. What future Cup champ tried turkey farming before he got his NASCAR career in gear? Wow, we got all kinds of guesses here. Okay. The answer is Cale Yarborough, Maserati 9. You were quick on the button and you got it first. Cale Yarborough. Yeah, Cup champ. Yeah, wouldn't be Mark Martin there, but very close. Cale Yarborough is the correct answer. Alrighty. Okay. What model of car did Rusty Wallace drive the first year he was Winston Cup champ? What model of car did Rusty Wallace drive the first year he was Winston Cup champ? That is our next question. What model of car did Rusty Wallace drive the first year he was Winston Cup champ? I see Pontiac Grand Prix, Pontiac Buick. All right. And the answer is Grand Prix. It's specifically looking for model, I guess. Grand Prix. But of course, Pontiac, you guys got that one right. The Pontiac Grand Prix, wider is better, or at least it would be eventually, well after 1989. Okay. What NASCAR Busch Series ace was first to win $1 million in a year? What NASCAR Busch Series ace was first to win $1 million in a year? Got a Busch Series question. We don't get too many Busch Series or Truck Series questions on here. This being, again, from the late 90s. So what NASCAR Busch Series ace was first to win $1 million in a year? Sam Ard, Mark Martin, Jeff Green. Any other guesses? Elias Pettersson? Pettersson? What NASCAR Busch Series ace was first to win $1 million in a year? The first to win $1 million in a year. Let's check the thing here again. What's this here? Accept. There we go. I love it. Speaking of which, we'll get the answer here first. We're just checking this here. And the answer is, now one of you should certainly get this answer. One of you should certainly get this answer. And Dusty, I think you got it. The answer is Randy LaJoy. The answer is Randy LaJoy, our good old Randy LaJoy. We were talking about LaJoys earlier. Dusty DeBoer, you got the closest to it. Surprised, yeah. I don't know if LaJoy fan 32 is still in here, but that was that. Randy LaJoy. Absolutely. I was just checking my Twitter things here. Big thanks. I hope you don't mind me mentioning this here, Ben Hatkin. I really like the LASCAR logo you sent me on here on the Twitter DMs. Really like that here. That was cool. So I'm gonna have to put that in a special folder here. There we go. Like I say, I keep my Twitter DMs open here for sure. So I got that on there. All righty. There we go. So yeah, McDuffie means that Adam Petty. If you're okay, you okay with me sharing it in the chat? I mean, I don't have to if you're not cool with it, but I do really like it there. So thank you for sending that for sure. It's always good to hear from the fans and everything here. And we are a small organization, but you know that just means that much more personal attention for all you out there. And I appreciate your support here of the live stream and of the website, of course. So that's of course on there. All righty. And all right, here, next question. What movie was thinly based on the rivalry of Joe Weatherly and Curtis Turner? Alrighty. What movie was thinly based on the rivalry of Joe Weatherly and Curtis Turner? All right, that is our next question. Days of Thunder, Stroker Ace, Alien versus Predator. Now, that would be, it does say loosely, thinly based. I mean, it could be, it could be Wuthering Heights for all I know. I mean, it could be any, you never know. What movie was thinly based on the rivalry of Joe Weatherly and Curtis Turner? We're getting a lot of Curtis Turner questions tonight. That's good to see, for sure. Alrighty, what movie was thinly based on the rivalry of Joe Weatherly and Curtis Turner? And the answer is Stroker Ace. It's actually Stroker Ace. It's not Days of Thunder. That's stunning to me. Well, there you go. Stroker Ace is the correct answer. Jolly Jake Lovell, you got it right off the bat. And Blake Thiemann, you were a close second on that one. Yeah, Alien versus Predator would have been amazing. I think as long as we're not talking about Aliens 3 or Alien 3 or whenever that was. Okay. Here we go. Who turned down a football scholarship to Alabama to pursue a racing career? So fast, left my R behind. There you go. Who turned down a football scholarship to Alabama to pursue a racing career? Got Dale Jarrett, Kyle Petty. Any other guesses here? Who turned down a football scholarship to Alabama to pursue a racing career is our next question. Here on our Saturday evening spectacular here. Huge. Let me see. Let me get this here. Here is the Benedetto. Yeah, it's like they say, Pockrass reported 14 minutes ago that Chad Knaus just finished his media availability, so it probably won't be probably a while on this. We might not do the show all the way until inspection results come in, but we'll do this for a little bit here. Who turned down a football scholarship to Alabama to pursue a racing career? Dale Jarrett, we got Kyle Petty. Several votes for Jarrett. Junior Johnson, Schrader, Seth Kimberlin, Mike Harmon. Alrighty, and the answer is Steve Grissom. Steve Grissom, how about that? The lesser-known member of the Alabama gang. Steve Grissom. You say Copen is baseball? Yeah, that would be correct. That would be baseball for him, for sure. You know, yeah, I do have that Byron shirt that I got from Darlington last year. Maybe I'll wear that tomorrow. That would be, let's dig that one out for sure. Alrighty. Okay, what town on the outskirts of Birmingham was home for the Alabama gang? What town on the outskirts of Birmingham was home for the Alabama gang is our next question. Well, what town on the outskirts of Birmingham was home for the Alabama gang? We got Bessemer, we got Hueytown, we got Hueytown, and Hueytown. And the answer, of course, is Hueytown. Yes. Here we go. We got some easier ones sprinkled in here. Okay. Okay. Here we go. Here's one now. Make sure you don't Google these. This is one here that is going to be I think it's going to be a bit more challenging. Okay, brace yourselves. This is a $1,000 question here. If it were on Jeopardy. Who was the first driver to win the Hickok Pro Athlete Monthly Award in 1962? Who was the first driver to win the Hickok Hickok Pro Athlete Monthly Award in 1962? Yeah, no kidding. Who was the first driver to win the Hickok Pro Athlete Monthly Award in 1962? Yeah, Richard Petty, Ned Jarrett, Lee Petty, Richard Petty, Fireball Roberts. Any other guesses on that? Yeah, no, the difficulty curve has increased sharply. Who was the first driver to win the Hickok Pro Athlete Monthly Award in 1962? Thatcher Demko? Not sure about that one. First driver to win the Hickok Pro Athlete Monthly Award in 1962. Guesses for King Richard. Yeah, Fireball, Lee Petty, Curtis. Okay. All right, we give up. We got the answer coming up here. The answer is Fireball Roberts. Fireball Roberts is indeed the correct answer. Dusty DeBoer, and you got just ahead of Jolly Jake Lavelle there, or Lovell, if we're thinking the Apollo 13 pronunciation. Yep, yeah, there you go, Fireball Roberts. You got some real good vintage questions here on this end of let's see. Ooh, here we go. This is a fun one. I like this one. How many of 1997's top 5 drivers stood 5'7" or less? I'll read that one again. How many of 1997's top 5 drivers stood 5'7" or less? So a number between 1 or 0, I guess, and 5. How many of 1997's top 5 drivers stood 5'7" or less? A height question. So between 0 and 5, we're looking for a number. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're right, Andrew. 1 week early for Throwback Weekend. I guess these are meant to be for our Darlington show next week, and we will have a Darlington show next Sunday after the Southern 500. Hopefully, it won't be 4 in the morning like it was last year, but we will do it, whenever it is for Labor Day weekend and go from there. All right. Okay, we have guesses between 0 and 5. I think everybody has at least one of the numbers. Yep, between 1 and 5, 0 and 5. And the answer is 3. The answer is 3. Number 3. See, Andrew Hayes, you're right on the button there, right ahead of MLG Pro Swag 69 and Maserati 9 G Space T. There you go. It would have been interesting. Yeah, Mark, Jeff. Was John Andretti in the top 5? Okay, I got to look at it now. There we go. Jeff. Okay, Jeff Gordon. Yeah, Gordon, Martin. The top 5 in the 97 driver standings were Gordon, Jarrett. Well, Jarrett is not under 5'7". Martin, Burton, and Earnhardt. Burton must be the third one, I'm guessing. Earnhardt and Jarrett were tall. Jarrett taller than Earnhardt, I think. But yeah, Burton looks like the third one. Jeff Burton. So there you go. Yeah, looks like Burton. Okay. Here we go. What NASCAR Winston Cup champion appears in a movie as Yasmin Bleeth's taxi driver? Here we go. Hollywood question. What NASCAR Winston Cup champ appears in a movie as Yasmin Bleeth's taxi driver? That is our question. What NASCAR Winston Cup champ appears in a movie as Yasmin Bleeth's taxi driver? All right, we got answers for Earnhardt and Gordon and Yarborough. Yeah, is it talking about basketball? I haven't watched that in years. What NASCAR Winston Cup champ appears in a movie as Yasmin Bleeth's taxi driver? And the answer is indeed Dale Earnhardt, the Intimidator himself. So I guess it is looking for the basketball reference there. Ooh, here we go. I was hoping this name would get said so I could say it with a bit of gravitas. What's New York driver Giacomo Giacomo's real first name? Don't look it up. What's New York driver Giacomo Giacomo's real first name? I love a good Giacomo Giacomo question. What is New York driver Giacomo Giacomo's real first name? We have guesses for Jack or Jacques and John and John and John. And do we have any other guesses? Johnny or John? What is New York driver Giacomo Giacomo's real first name? Hey, Van Henken. Welcome back. Fred, George. Could be something simple. Could be Lou. It could be anything. What is New York driver Giacomo Giacomo's real first name? The answer is Chauncey. Chauncey is your correct answer. Chauncey Giacomo. Doesn't roll off the tongue quite as well. Giacomo Giacomo. Not Kailua Huao. Okay, yeah, that's too many vowels for me to even speak. Okay. Obvious. Yeah, there you go. Chauncey. Yeah, there you go. Chauncey Giacomo. Alrighty. What is Tim Flock's real first name? That's really the next question. What is Tim Flock's real first name? I have a feeling this is going to be a trick question, or at least one of these will be. What is, it could be Tim. Yeah, what is Tim Flock's real first name is our next question. Yeah, it could be a trick question. You never know. That is really, is it a who's buried at Grant's tomb question? Is it how long was 100 Years' Wars question? Julius, Tom, Julius, Timothy, Thomas. Is Ethel, so I will say kerosene. That's Jolly Jake Lavelle. You are thinking outside the box, and I like that. What is Tim Flock's real first name? Jocko. Yeah, maybe. Now that would be, yeah. Marc-Andre. The answer is Julius. Julius. A couple of you got that. Julius. Julius Flock. Maserati 9, you got it. 8-Bit Enterprises, you got it. Julius. Would not have guessed that at all. Okay. It's getting a little later. We're past midnight on the East Coast. We're going to just do a couple more here, and then we'll wrap up for the night. All righty. Let's see. We'll do one more after this. What was the title of Kyle Petty's autobiography? What was the title of Kyle Petty's autobiography, which apparently was published in the late 90s? What was the title of Kyle Petty's autobiography? We're looking for a title name. 134 for you. Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're not going to take too long here. What was the title of Kyle Petty's autobiography? Long hair, don't care. I like that. I'm just going to give it to you just for that one. The Prince of NASCAR. That's a good one. Ponytails and motorcycles. Hey, you never know. What was the title of Kyle Petty's autobiography? That's incredible. Yeah. Okay. Blake, that's also very good. If I were giving points, I would give you one on that one too. Drink Mellow Yellow all day. Kyle at 200 mile an hour. All right. Any other guesses? What was the title of Kyle Petty's autobiography? I'm going to say something. Here you go. And the answer is Life at 200 mile an hour. Life at 200 miles per hour is the answer. Here, several of you are very close. Kyle, 8-Bit Enterprise, you were right on top of it. Life at 200 miles per hour is the title. All right, we're going to do one more question here. Okay. Yeah, this publisher should have hired chat. You're right. You're absolutely right. I don't know, maybe another edition is in the works. Who knows? All righty. Last question of the night. Thank you all for sticking with me here. We're going to do one more question here and then wrap up so you all can get some sleep here. Last question for the night. Who is Hut Strickland's father-in-law? Who is Hut Strickland's father-in-law? That is our last question for tonight. Who is Hut Strickland's father-in-law? I'll give you all some extra time here to make your picks on that. Who is Hut Strickland's father-in-law? Why are two of you guessing Pizza Hut? Okay. Donnie Allison, Pizza Hut, Strickland. Oh, I get you. Okay, never mind. That is good. Pizza Hut. Yep. Allison, Donnie Allison, the 1997 CEO of Domino's. That's very specific, but you know it can only be one answer, so I guess that's possible. The 1997 CEO of Domino's. Who is Hut Strickland's father-in-law? That is our last question for the evening on this William Byron spectacular here. I'm going to check Pockers's page one more time while you guys all get your guesses in. All right. Pockers posted Chad Knaus's interview basically a minute ago. For my friends at Racing Insights, Jeff Gordon and William Byron are the only drivers to win the number 24 car. Gordon earned his first win at age 22 years, 9 months, and 25 days. Byron is younger at 22 years, 9 months, and 1 day. There you go. I think one of you guys were mentioning that earlier too. That's something. 24 days younger. There you go. Right on it. How about that? Wish I had thought of that beforehand. Okay, we have guesses for Donnie Allison and Domino's and Donnie Allison. Okay. Well, it's 8:30 now. Well, yeah, I guess now it would be. Yeah, we'll have to expand the date here. Okay, who is Hut Strickland's father-in-law? The answer is Donnie Allison. The group has it. Donnie Allison. So several of you got that one. There you go. Jolly Jake Lavelle, you were first on the button there. Alan Duke, you're close there. You said Allison. Maserati 9, Dusty DeBoer, 8-Bit Enterprises, and so forth. Okay, there you go. Excellent. All righty. Well, thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in here. Do we know if Donnie Allison was CEO of Domino's in 1997? I don't know that. I'd have to check with my people on that one. Thank you so much, everyone, for tuning in. We still haven't heard yet back on the tech inspection results on William Byron, but I anticipate we'll probably hear back on that pretty soon. But thank you, everyone, for tuning in. Lastcar.info is the website. We'll have the article on J.J. Yaley later tonight, assuming that there aren't any results in technical inspection. Otherwise, we'll have the Truck Series article for you tomorrow on the same website. We'll do some updates there on the Truck Series race. We'll see what the battle is like there. Patreon.com/LastCarOnBrock is the Patreon. This channel is the YouTube channel. And look forward to some more content coming up here. Tune in next week. We'll do our show after Throwback Weekend for the Southern 500. I'll probably have to put on some classic stuff there for that and give it a little bit of a throwback flair for y'all. And we'll do that. And yeah, thanks again for tuning in. And have a safe weekend, safe evening, everything, everywhere out there. And I will see you next week.